Alright guys, here's an update on the 64 Cadillac. I was going to put out a video every week, and then I accidentally deleted a bunch of videos. But anyways, I got the driver's side is all stripped and down to epoxy. I was going to TIG weld everything, but my TIG welder won't reach over here, and I got to make a new cart for it to be able to roll. But anyways, so I made this patch right here and down, and you guys can kind of see what the bottom of it looks like, the lines and stuff. So I made that patch. I went through and hammered and dollied all these holes, well, as much as I can. It's hard to get your arm on the back side of the doors. I made this patch from roughly from here down, and then I had to make a small patch right in here. I just skimmed it with a coat of Duraglass and then skimmed it again with some mud. This is way thinner than it looks. This is not even a 1/16 inch thick right in there. One thing I do with all my patch panels, you know, when you do weld in a patch panel, you get those little pinholes in your welds. So what I like to do is after I get it all welded and ground down, I'll sandblast the welds before I epoxy them. And then here you guys can kind of see what the inside looks like. I got mud in this hole, so I'll drill that out. So my patch panel starts roughly right here, and then you guys can see how I hammered it over and around. That's kind of dark. I don't know if this will even show up in video. But so anyways, try to make it look factory. And then on the inside, you guys can see my welds. I'm going to go through and just kind of clean this up a little bit. And that's this door. So this is the driver's rear door. And then the bottom, the quarter was pretty good. It has a dent here, and I just kind of hammered and dollied there. You can't get to here because the way the wheel well rolls up, the wheel well is only about this far away from this, all the way up to about here, and there's just no way to get in there. The bottom, this is the passenger rear door, and I had to make a patch from here down. So, I mean, you can see my weld here. I got a little goofy, oh no, that's just a little low spot right here. I got to hammer and dolly out real quick. So now what I'll do is, before I body work this, is I'll sand it with 80 grit, and then I'll do a skim over it, and that'll be that, and then it'll get primed. And then the trunk, I stripped that all down. These springs for this trunk lid, I don't know how heavy the trunk lid is, I can't remember, but this is a piece of 1/4 inch flat stock. It's like 1/4 by 3. Maybe it's 5/16 by 3, and it's bending it. Them hinges have a lot of tension on them. It's nuts. But we went through, cleaned, sandblasted inside of all of this. I'm about to sandblast the inner, so I want to keep this all covered up so I don't get a bunch of sandblasting sand inside the car. We'll come around to the front side. Sorry guys for the shaky camera work. I'm still using my cell phone. I haven't upgraded or anything yet. This is all still kind of spontaneous. I don't even know if I like this yet. On the the passenger side, this corner was in about 3/4, well, no, about a 1/2 inch, I guess, 3/8 or a 1/2 inch. And they before just filled it with mud. Well, you could get on the back side, and we gave it a whack with a 2x4 and a hammer, and it came out really good. If you hold a straight edge across this quarter, that's nice and straight now. And then down here, I did not prime this because there's all these holes from the old body guys, which I don't know why they did this, because you can get at it from the back side. So they could have just beat at it from the back side. But I got to go through, hammer and dolly all of this, smooth these out, and then weld them, and then go in on the back side, get this all nice and straight. I cleaned all the seam sealer, so everything's going to have to get re-seam sealed, but I sandblasted in all of this. These extra little holes are from the old trim. For some reason, this side had different trim than the driver's side, and they just drilled these holes. I was going to weld them up, but there's no real reason to, because it all gets covered with trim, and these holes will be, the bigger holes will be used for the new trim. So now onto the rocker nightmare. So this rocker panel, let's see if I can grab the old one without too much shaky camera work. So this was the old rocker. I think they used a factory rocker because it's got the it looks factory. All these, they used, but they used one off of like a 2-door, not a 4-door, because it didn't go the whole way. It stopped like right about there, and then he patched in a piece and then mudded it all up. But, so the new rocker doesn't have these dimples in it, so I gotta make those dimples in the bottom of that rocker so it looks factory. And then you can see they just braze rodded it here. That brazing rod was just a pain. And then these were all spot welds, but they cut it off the bracket because it's supposed to be welded to this bracket right up underneath. And then it's going to get welded over here too. But you guys can see that there's some rust. Let's see if I can move this light around and you guys can kind of see what's going on. But, so, oh no, I can't see it. There's rust. I'm going to sandblast all of this and prime it. The new rocker, see if we can do this quick with one hand. So, all right, so here's the new rocker. Right here, I got to trim it. Kind of, you can see where my line goes. I'm going to trim that off. And then I want this to look as factory as possible. But this thing was a nightmare. So it's about 6 feet long, right? And this bend right here wasn't tight enough. I had to lower this edge about 1/4 of an inch. And it took forever, you know, to hammer and dolly and try to make it nice and straight. But now it's gonna fit on nice, just like factory. I'm gonna have it overlap just a little bit. So like right here, you guys can see once the rocker is on, it's gonna overlap, and that's gonna give me a little bit more strength when I weld. I gotta trim the top of that little seam, smooth it out. But I gotta trim the top of this just a hair. But I want it to kind of overlap just a little bit so that I get a nice, good, strong weld. This is structural, so, you know, it is what it is. And looking down the line here, it looks like that line is crooked down there, so I'm gonna have to I'll have to maybe put the rear door on quick and get this all fit right. But for the time being, we're gonna get the back of this all sandblasted. And I'm doing it inside my booth. And don't worry guys, before I paint the car, I'm gonna clean the whole booth out and everything. But so that's where we're at. What else? I trimmed quite a bit of the, so, where are we at? This had a big chunk hanging over it. It came up higher, and then it had a piece like this deep that went across. So it would have overlapped all of this. And I think the way they make these rockers is so that it fits inside this seam and then inside this seam. And I'm sure a lot of guys just put them on and that's that. But we're going to try to make this as right as we can. This is all, it's all going to get epoxied. And then I'm going to go and use weld through primer all up and along here. I'm going to radius these bends. I don't want anything sharp. I want to make sure that my epoxy sticks to everything really good. And I left up here, I don't really know what this is for. This little piece is just like glued in here. And it was sitting just like that. So I don't know, I'm going to sandblast it, clean it, and just leave it. I mean, it kind of looks like it was supposed to be welded to the front of this, but it sticks out too far. So I don't know. But I did leave, you guys can kind of see, I left part of this wrapped around. Let's see if I can turn you guys to see. Okay, so I don't know if you can even, if it's showing up. But so anyways, this is the old rocker that wraps around. So I'm going to end up welding it probably like right along this edge. I'm going to leave just a little bit overlap. Up here, this gap was too tight. So I made a cut right here. And then I beat that down, and that got me a good gap right there. And then when this thing was in an accident before, this thing was just all mangled. And it's pretty thick. It's like, it's got to be thicker than 16 gauge. I mean, it's probably like 14 gauge. I mean, it's thick. And I was beating and beating on it. And it took quite a bit, but I got it now where the bottom of this will line up. When I go to put the rocker on, I'm going to pop a couple screws in. And that'll ensure that it pulls this tight to the rocker. So I'll pop a couple sheet metal screws in there, probably 3 of them, and then I'll do my welds, and then I'll pull them screws out, and then I'll weld up the screw holes. But that's kind of what we're looking at. In the back there, I did the same thing. I left just a little bit of that lip. And yeah, I was actually kind of surprised. This rocker really didn't, at first glance, it looked like it fit really good. But once I actually like put it on and was looking at it, it did not. Like, it was a pain trying to hammer and dolly a 6-foot seam or 6-foot bend and try to keep it straight and nice and right. And it took a lot of trips back and forth from here over to the workbench. But that's where we're at so far. Okay, guys. So I got this sandblasted. Pretty good. This is all galvanized and didn't need to be all sandblasted, so I didn't. But I got everything in here. This is just a little bit of the black paint left over. I got everything all sandblasted up and kind of, you know, just trying to get where it's hard to do with the grinder, like inside all these, trying to get like inside these corners. And then I know the question's going to come up, how do you get all of this sand? How do I get all of this sand out of the booth? So I know a lot of guys are probably freaking out. Oh, he's got a paint booth and he's doing all that, making all that dust. I'm not painting anything today, guys. So what I do, I got me an electric leaf blower. And what I do, so basically what I do is I just blow everything back to here. And then later, once I get everything epoxied, I get all the body work done, I get everything primed, I get it all blocked and ready to paint, the car is going to go out and all of this is going to get cleaned up. The whole booth will all get blown out and cleaned up. And I am wearing some PPE. So definitely want to wear a dust mask when you're sandblasting and stuff. Yeah, so anyways, it makes a heck of a mess. There's probably 20 pounds of sand on the ground. So I filled the sandblaster once, and then I had to fill it a second time. It's on the list. I need a bigger sandblaster. This thing sucks. It just doesn't hold enough sand. But yeah, I have seals along the bottom of the walls. So this stuff won't actually blow out of the booth, so I can just kind of go through, blow it all out. The exhaust fan I got works really good. It's going to suck most of the free dust out of here. And you can see I got like the trunk covered. I got most of the car covered. I should have masked off or done something for inside, but the carpet, all of that's going to have to get cleaned out anyways, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, there's a lot of sand on the ground. So that's where we're at now, guys. Take care. Alright guys, so this is it at the end of the day. I got the rocker epoxied. I got it masked off because that's where weld through primer is going to go. And then I did the inside of the rocker with 2 thick coats of epoxy. So now the next time I work on this, I decided I'm changing up the way it's fitting. This is all going to be a butt weld, butt weld, butt weld, butt weld, butt weld all the way down. And then it's going to butt weld down there, bunch of spot welds. There's going to be some spot welds that go into this piece. You can see how there's like a gap. So it gets spot welded in a couple spots. And then this rocker panel did not have these dimples in it, so I put these dimples in it like factory. So I'll take you guys over to the other side. This is the passenger rear door. I just started kind of blocking it out. This is the one where I had to patch from here down. So I got that blocked out. But if you guys come and look on this side, you can see there's a dimple, and then up there's another dimple. So I use this side as a reference. Took some measurements. And yeah, so now both rockers will look the same when it's up on a hoist. Try to do things the right way. It takes a long time, but it's worth it in the end. So that's the end of the day.